You know the story of Icarus, right? It's one of those classic myths we all learn as a simple warning. Don't get too ambitious. But what if that's not the real lesson? What if we've been missing the point all along? Today, we're going to dive into this famous myth and uncover the part of the story everybody seems to forget.
I mean, we've all heard this phrase. It's totally baked into our language. It's our go-to shorthand for warning someone against being too prideful, too reckless with their ambition. And it comes directly from this ancient story, this idea that hubris, well, it'll be your downfall.
Okay, so let's really get into this, because the version of the myth that sticks in our heads, the one we all think we know, it leaves out a pretty crucial detail, a second warning that honestly changes everything. To get it, we have to rewind. Before the infamous fall, there was the escape. Our story really kicks off on the island of Crete, where a father and his son are trapped in a prison of pure genius. So, let's meet the cast. You've got Daedalus, who is just this legendary inventor, a total genius. Then there's his young son, Icarus, and their lives are all tangled up with the powerful and frankly ruthless King Minos and his monstrous stepson, the Minotaur. So King Minos needed a place to lock up the terrifying Minotaur. So what does he do? He commissions Daedalus to build a prison so complex, so intricate, that no one could ever escape it. And Daedalus delivers. He builds the Labyrinth, a masterpiece of design, a puzzle with no way out. And here is the ultimate cosmic irony. Once the job is done, King Minos turns on the guy who built it. Daedalus, the architect of the perfect prison, finds himself and his son, Icarus, trapped inside his own creation. Talk about a raw deal. So you're probably asking, why? Why the betrayal? Well, Minos got it in his head that Daedalus had secretly helped the hero Theseus, spilling the secrets of the labyrinth so Theseus could kill the Minotaur and get out alive. So for that suspected crime, Daedalus and Icarus were just left to rot. But here's the thing. Daedalus wasn't just some guy. He was a master inventor. And he thought, okay, if we can't escape by land and we can't escape by sea, well, there's only one way left to go. Up. And this is where his genius just takes over. Using literally just the scraps around him, feathers birds had shed, threads pulled from their blankets, wax from candles, he starts to construct 2 pairs of wings. It's just this incredible feat of engineering, building their only hope for freedom from the leftovers of their imprisonment. Now, right before they take off, Daedalus sits his son down and gives him this incredibly important 2-part warning. And folks, this is the absolute heart of the story. He says, Icarus, you have to fly the middle path. Don't go too high because the sun's heat will melt the wax. But, and here's the part we forget, don't fly too low either, because the damp sea air will soak the feathers and they'll get too heavy to fly. Both extremes were a death sentence. And with that warning ringing in his ears, they jump. They leap from the tower into the open air. And for a glorious moment, it worked. They were actually flying. Can you even imagine that feeling? The pure joy, the exhilaration? After being locked away for so long, Icarus feels the wind under his wings, the sun on his face, and he just gets completely swept up in the moment. He feels invincible. And in that thrill, his father's words just fade away. He climbs higher and higher, just drawn to the warmth, the light. And then, the first sign of trouble. The wax, so carefully placed, starts to get soft. Maybe he felt a drip of hot wax on his shoulder, saw a single feather just flutter away into the blue. The amazing invention, his ticket to freedom, was starting to come apart. And then came that moment of pure, stomach-dropping terror. The lift is just gone. The wings have disintegrated, and suddenly he's just flapping his own arms, uselessly, against nothing. And his father, Daedalus, could only watch in absolute horror as his son fell from the sky, plummeting into the sea and disappearing beneath the waves. The ultimate tragedy. The very thing he created to save them was the cause of his son's death. In his grief, Daedalus made sure his son would never be forgotten. And to this day, the island near where he fell is called Icaria. The water around it, that's the Icarian Sea. His name is literally on the map. But the story doesn't really end with Icarus's death, because its meaning, Well, that's been picked apart and reshaped for thousands of years, eventually becoming the simple lesson most of us know today. You can actually trace how we've thought about this story through time, from the Roman poet Ovid, who really made it famous, to Renaissance painters, all the way up to modern psychologists and even business gurus. Each era has found its own message in the fall of Icarus.
So, fast forward to the 20th century, and psychology gets a hold of the myth. The Icarus complex becomes a real term, used to describe a personality type that's super ambitious, a little narcissistic, and is always chasing these incredible highs, only to come crashing back down to earth.
So, after all that, the lesson that has been drilled into us is pretty simple. Aim high, sure, but not too high. Know your limits. It's a story that basically preaches caution. Play it safe. Which brings us right back to that question from the beginning. By only ever talking about the danger of the sun, have we been completely missing the other half of the lesson?
And there it is, the forgotten warning. See, Daedalus wasn't just telling his son not to be arrogant, he was also warning him not to be complacent. He said, don't fly too high, yes, but he also said, don't fly too low. Don't let the fear, the conformity, the sheer weight of the ordinary world drag you down and stop you from ever really flying in the first place.
And that's the big idea I want to leave you with. The tragedy of Icarus isn't just about flying too high. It's about the equal, and maybe even greater danger of flying too low, of playing it so safe that you never give yourself the chance to soar. So the myth isn't just asking if you're aiming too high. It's also asking, are you aiming high enough?